Feeling good.
Woo.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Hello. Welcome in. Welcome to the Gentleman's Agreement podcast. Official first episode. Pretty excited. We've got some awesome people here with us. Host of the podcast, name is Justin. You guys want to go around and introduce yourselves quickly?
I'm Alex.
Gibby. I'm Devin.
What's up, guys? What's up? Gentleman's Agreement. Going to be a podcast of shenanigans. A bunch of guys just talking about anything from music to video games to sports to whatever comes up throughout the week. We're just here chatting, getting a chance to express ourselves from the guy's point of view and see what happens. So how's the week been for you guys? I know my week was pretty garbage, but you guys already know that. Got COVID. Felt horrible. Never felt worse in my life. Tried to work through it. Was probably not the smartest idea, but here we are. We made it. We're on the up and up. We got over the hill.
Side.
How was your guys' week?
You survived.
I did, barely. Didn't feel like it.
I mean, last week was an intense week. A lot happened in a lot of different markets, and I mean, Rivian for starters. It's where I work. I think DeMel. I don't know if you're cool with me letting them know that you work there too, but
well, he's cool now with it. Didn't really expect that one,
it's out there now, so yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, dude, you didn't have a choice.
You're good.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know what happened in the news. That was kind of interesting, so I'm looking forward to kind of diving into that a little bit. But yeah, should be a fantastic week this week because can only go up from where we're at, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Alex,
Stressful
what you
week.
guys got going on?
Yeah. Stressful work week, but ended on a high note. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Let's go.
You know, so it'll be great. Highlight of the week coming up.
Yeah.
Talking with you guys.
Hell yeah. Same on my end. Busy work week, crazy things happening, but happy to be on the weekend.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we all kick off the new work week nice and great. Sunday, July 31st, first podcast. I know most of us at least got a chance to watch the race live. We are very big into Formula One, especially from a fantasy perspective. I know at least I'm pretty competitive. Some of us have not even checked our teams in probably 3 months. I'm not gonna
don't judge me on that, guys. Listen, okay, we all
right, well,
okay, I watched the races.
Week and just make the wrong choices.
It's about the most commitment I can make is watching the races at this point.
Well, in all fairness, I think we go a lot heavier than most people, right? I, at least personally, from my own perspective, I watch the practice sessions. I watch qualifying on Saturday. If it's a sprint race, I watch the sprint race. I watch the full race. I'm watching random interviews because it's just, I'm passionate about it. I love it. I love motorsports. I feel like Drive to Survive got me sucked in to the emotional connection to all of these racers. And now I'm just like, it's part of my life every week. So here I am watching races at 4:00 in the morning on Sundays.
Yeah, the grind.
But today we had the Hungaroring Hungary Grand Prix race. And wasn't too crazy when it came to any crashes or red flags, but it was a pretty exciting race.
Because I thought we were going to get some wet driving there today.
I feel like
at the end, I thought someone was going to spin.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like watching through the race and seeing some of the engineer screens, the rain just like somehow missed the track, but everything else around the track got destroyed. So that was cool that we didn't have to experience that. But we got Max Verstappen, Red Bull, hitting first place. Somehow went from 10th with some weird driver issues throughout the weekend, and he charged through and he put himself in first by the end of the race.
Even after spinning out.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, go ahead.
So even after spinning out, that 360 was pretty intense for Max.
I'm going to talk about that in a second. I don't know how you spin and still find your way in the front, but finally, very excited. I'm sure Alex is going to love to talk about the two Mercedes.
Let's
getting,
go!
Second and third. Very
my
welcome
boys.
to see the two Silver Arrows back on the podium. And then Carlos Sainz, Perez, Leclerc. I'm sure we're going to want to probably talk about Ferrari for a second. Norris in a car that's not doing great for him, but finding himself in 7th. The two Alpines, 8th, 9th, and then Vettel finishing us off with the points in 10th. What was your experience with the race? I know some of us watched it live. Some of us watched some highlights after. Talk me through what you guys were going through.
Man, that race was amazing towards the end, especially. It was so good. Oh, such good racing. The Merc boys came in clutch at the end to snag those podiums. I was so stoked to see them up there. Ferrari strategy is just continues to be a pile of pizza poop that continues down every race. They like cannot figure out a pit stop to save their life. I have no idea.
Like their pit stops are getting longer.
They're getting worse.
4.7 seconds
And
at the beginning of the race for Carlos Sainz.
It's terrible. Absolutely awful, dude. Garbage. Yep. And I thought Danny Rick had some good driving, except for that popping dude in that corner.
Lance Stroll.
Yeah, but he deserves it, so I wasn't mad about it. It was just like a little questionable driving, I think, from Danny Rick on that one.
See, it's crazy to me, though, because I feel like Daniel Ricciardo had a great race and then somehow still ended up in 15th place.
I know.
Like, every time I'm watching, I find him like charging through the pack a little
and
bit,
like trying to make overtakes. Yeah,
makes great overtakes. Find himself like pushing through the pack, and then the race finishes, and he's like bottom 5 every.
Pushing through the pack when the best driver that he's competing with right now is Kevin Magnussen.
K-Mag's pretty great though. I mean, let's not knock that. Yeah, right? Like, he's a great driver
for that area. For that area,
that's kind of where the McLaren is though, in terms of performance, right? Like that's where it stacks
exactly.
up.
That's what I mean, though. Like, that's where he's competing.
Yeah.
So, like, of course he looks fantastic. He's never going to get in the top 5. It's just not happening.
Listen, Danny Rick has been in the top 5 before, so he very
not in that. It's not happening. In that car.
But maybe in another car or another season in that car.
Yeah. So being the resident like newbie to F1 here, I mean, how much of it is? Yeah. How much of it is the car versus the driver? I mean,
it's a great question.
George Russell is a prime example.
Yeah, I mean, the driver is a lot of it, I will say, because like the whole goal of Formula One is to push your vehicle that you're in to its braking limit to where it shouldn't be able to maintain grip around corners and shouldn't be able to handle the speeds that it does. That's like the driver's goal. And then the manufacturer.
Is that what happened to Verstappen, or was that just a fluke?
I mean,
in today's race,
I don't want to even hear Justin.
So I'll let you know, Alex really does not like Red Bull, so I think he's coming at it from a very different perspective.
Let's use a different example because I don't need to start a fight here. Okay. So let's talk about George Russell for a minute because he's a prime example from like last season, right? Last season,
good old
Georgie boy is known as Mr. Saturday because he was able to qualify really, really well on the Saturday quali sessions when he was in Williams, in a Williams vehicle. And the Williams is not a fast or competitive vehicle by any stretch of the imagination. It was just like terrible. So the fact that George was able to continually make Q2 appearances within that Williams vehicle was like what got him the Mercedes seat in the first place, right? And so what you see in the beginning of this season with Mercedes is like George Russell outperforming Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion. And my personal opinion on that is that George has a lot of experience driving a really shitty car and pushing that shitty car to its absolute limit and potential, which Lewis Hamilton has done, but he hasn't probably had to do since he was with McLaren in 2012. Right? Something like that. And so since then he's been in a high performing Mercedes that has like dominated from a performance perspective until this season. And so that's, I think, why you see that gap and now why Lewis is finally wrangling that vehicle on top of them making the necessary performance levels. So it's like that type of stuff that makes Formula One so exciting to me. It's like looking at those two differences.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting though, because I think George, one, is an incredible driver.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the first half of the year, they didn't have to experiment with his car as much. I felt like he was just a little bit more comfortable with the setup, and they didn't have to change too much. Where Lewis, every time he got in the car, things weren't right. He's got a very specific way that he wants to drive. He's very heavy on the brakes, late into the corners, and things were just not hooking up for him. He didn't have the right traction connection coming out of the apex, and he just really struggled to find the car that worked for him, and they kept trying and nothing was working, and they finally found a spot where things were just clicking. Mm-hmm. So his skill now we're seeing is kind of surpassing Russell, especially today. I think is a great example, right? Russell started out in pole, had quite a bit of battles with Leclerc and some of the Ferraris, knew that his car wasn't technically the fastest on the track, But I feel like Hamilton's experience and his driving ability came to fruition at the end of that race, right? They were both on soft tires. Obviously, Hamilton's were a little bit newer, but he found a way. He looked faster driving that car at the end of the race. And I think that is experience. They're at a point where I feel like the cars are both doing the same thing performance-wise, but now we're going to start to see the difference in experience and driving level. So, for sure, my personal 2 cents.
So they're putting soft tires on for cornering, grip, getting around, for that kind of stuff. And then because I heard watching the highlights and everything, but is that in cornering and that like in straightaways or for speed? What about? So why would somebody put on harder tires?
They last longer.
For durability.
Better grip. Yeah.
So the main thing is longevity, right? Like you don't want to pit stop as often as you, right? You want to limit how many.
And that's where, like, when you heard Demel talk about Ferrari's poo-poo caca strategy, if you could even call it a strategy.
I think it's just reacting at this point. It's just,
it's literally
they're just like, doing. Oh shit, we gotta do bibbidi bobbidi, and then there you go.
They're so bad. They're so bad. But basically, what you're running into with that is like strategy should be like 1-stop or 2-stop strategies. So you're going to the pit stop X amount of times, and you have to plan for those things. So teams will incorporate different styles of tires to last different lengths of time based on what strategy they're going for on whatever circuit they're racing on that day.
Yeah, so there's normally
that's like a big decision maker for the like stiffness of the tire.
3 different compounds that they run. There's a hard, a medium, and a soft tire. Hard tire is usually going to run a little bit slower, like 2 to 3 tenths slower than the medium. Same thing, medium 2 to 3 tenths slower than the soft. But they give you just a little bit more out of the tire wear, so you don't have to stop as much. So in a lot of situations, you'll see somebody start on a bit of a faster tire that's not going to last as long, and then switch to either the medium or the harder tire to get them through the rest of the race, so they don't have to come into a pit. Because a pit usually, on average, is around like a 20-plus second time frame. So if you don't have to stop an extra 20 seconds, and you can put on those hot tires, but eat that 0.2 throughout the race, and go longer, you have some different opportunities. So that's where some strategy comes in. Ferrari have just really, they haven't figured it out. They've tried things. To Alex's point, it feels like they're just reacting at this point. Somebody comes in for a pit, somebody changes a new tire, they think they might get rain X, and they're like, we got to do something, bring them in. Whatever happened today, I don't know. They had data to show that the hard tire wasn't working with Magnussen. I think either Ocon or Alonso.
But it's
one of them.
On the hard tire.
It's not just today. It's every week.
Yeah, they keep not making strategy every week. All they're doing is reacting throughout the race. It's ridiculous.
I mean,
I don't know what happened today either.
Yeah.
But it's every week.
So crazy to me.
I don't know what happened. Like Leclerc's out front, and then he just isn't anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the nice thing is that they've got about a month to figure it out before they have to race again. We're on summer break. So that gives them 3 weeks to really kind of think through, watch back some of the races, and try to strategize for the last 9. The issue that they've run into is that Max is now essentially 3 free races ahead in the standings, and he can DNF 3 races straight, and he's still in the lead in the championships. So they've got to figure something out. They've got to get both those cars on the podiums for the rest of these races. I feel like they've just sabotaged their season, but they've got to find a way to turn it around. The even bigger story, in my opinion, is that Mercedes now is not too far beyond both the constructors' points as well as the individual driver series. So what felt like we had a Charles and Max world championship head-to-head and Ferrari and Red Bull going head-to-head.
No.
It doesn't feel like that anymore. Now it feels like we have an individual race between George and Lewis and Sainz and Leclerc and Red Bull competing against Mercedes and Ferrari competing against Mercedes and Red Bull just kind of doing their own thing, which I did not expect 2 weeks ago, but Ferrari has somehow figured out a way how to mess it up, and now they're almost competing for second and third, and man, Mercedes just has all the steam right now.
Yeah, it's great, dude.
How many points per podium?
25 points?
Or like win?
So it's 25 for first, so I'll break it down. 25 for first, 18 for second, 15 for third, so podium points you get quite a bit. And then it grows down by 2 after that. So 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. And then the last place that you can score points in a race is 10th place. You get 1 point. Okay. You also get an additional point for scoring the fastest lap. So if you drove fastest around the track that day, you get an extra point, which sometimes can be very beneficial by the end of the year. Last year, great example, right? Tide, which is not a very common situation, but Tide coming into the last race of the season. We're not going to get into it. Alex is going to break some stuff if we even talk about that race.
Please don't.
But those single points.
Today was traumatic. It was triggering for me. Okay, with the safety car and the last lap with Hamilton following Verstappen, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like,
well, I tried not to get into it, but you brought it up.
Anyway, sorry.
Again, those single points do matter over a period of time. So, again, strategy, right? If you know that you might not win the race, but you've got an additional 20-second buffer throughout, you can maybe make a last-minute pit stop with the last few laps, warm those softer tires up, and go out and get that fastest lap for that extra point. So some strategy comes in.
And that's why Hamilton walked away with 19.
Yep, exactly.
He had the fastest lap.
Scored second place, 18 plus that 0.1.
An important distinction is you have to finish within the points in order to get that point for fastest lap. So if you get fastest lap and you're P11 or lower, you don't get a point.
But also, again, that could be strategy, right? So if you're a top team and something happened in your race and now you're out of the point, so you're not going to score points, but you also don't want them to get that extra point, you can swap out, get your extra tires on. You're not really going to lose points, right? Because you're not getting points anyways. You can try to steal that fastest lap from one of the top drivers. It's a lot of fun. I love it. I'm passionate about it. It's a fun sport. Again, I think we've got 3 weeks of I don't know what I'm going to do on the weekends. But when we come back in Belgium, we've got another 9 races to kind of finish out the year. So, Devin, I know that you're not like deep into it now, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts over the next few weeks as we get through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, and I think from like a listener perspective, it might be good to have that. You know, somebody like myself, like growing into it as we progress through this through our time together here. So, might add some interesting perspective, and you guys all have some great takes. So
growing sport
I'm excited,
especially in the U.S. It was already big in Europe and Asia, but Drive to Survive, thanks Netflix, massive following. A ton of people got a chance to kind of understand what it is that we've been watching year over year, and now we have a ton of new fans, which is really exciting.
Golf is next.
That'll be my homework between now and next is what make sure to watch that.
Here's the thing: even if you don't like racing, even if you're not like super into motorsports, it's just good drama. You get to see these billionaires competing at the highest level, and it is some shenanigans. It's shady. There's people kind of fighting on the back end, and then all of it comes to the actual racing piece of it. But it's so much more than that. So,
yeah, man, Drive to Survive is what got me into F1. I always thought about these kinds of things as like, why would you pay that much money to watch people drive really fast in circles? And then I watched Drive to Survive. Bobo actually got me into it. I don't think I would have started watching it, and that made it so much more entertaining because you get into it, you know the drivers now in like a little bit more personal level. It's a great show. Highly recommend.
Yeah, just like any other sport, right? Soccer, football, baseball. Like you get attached to a team, you get attached to some drivers. Sometimes they trade, they switch up. People go to different constructors. And it just gives you something to look towards in the race outside of just the racing itself.
More to invest in.
I'm excited. I went to. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, my dad's always been into it, and we actually went to Indianapolis. I got to watch the Indianapolis 500. Nice. You know, so yeah, so I've had, and it was very interesting, very crazy atmosphere to see some of these race cars live. It's wild. But yeah, it'll be. I'm excited.
It's the race that I've never been to, but I've watched just about every year, and it is exciting. Again, tons of motorsports fans, regardless of what they're fitting, NASCAR, F1, doesn't matter. Like, just everybody kind of gets in there and is in that environment. But then you realize that those cars are driving 500 miles, and they're doing 200 miles on average, 200 miles per hour on average around that track at all times. So it's crazy. It's good fun.
Wild.
Anything else? Anybody want to chat about the Hungarian race today before we move on?
Just that the spin out.
Yeah, dude, that
the
360.
spin out.
Let's talk about Verstappen.
Come back from that.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about Verstappen starting in P10?
Sure.
Okay. If I didn't see who got driver of the day, but if it wasn't him, then nobody's right anymore. No, just nobody's right because 9 positions. That's a lot. It's a big deal. And to spin out 360 and still have, what was it, like an 8.5 second lead after the spin?
Big lead.
I didn't see who won driver of the day, so I'm not sure. I can make the argument for Verstappen. I can make the argument for Hamilton. I can make the argument for Russell. I think that he was kind of put in some weird positions throughout the day, but honestly, Hamilton, if anything, I think 10th going to first is incredible. Max had the strategy behind him. He had the car behind him. He made the moves that he needed to do. He had some adversity throughout the day, but he found a way to win. Hamilton was in a position where first half of the race, I didn't think he was even going to get into the podium positions, let alone find himself in second place. So you got to give props to, again, experience, professional driving, and just their ability to figure it out in circumstances where they probably shouldn't be in those spots. Did anybody find who won driver of the day? I don't actually know.
Yeah, it was Max. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Maxi boy. That's what we like to see.
It's crazy. It's interesting, though, honestly, because how are you in a position where you can spin on track, lose a ton of time, burn up some of your tire, which means that you're not going to drive as fast, retake the lead, and then hold that while you have people behind you trying different strategies, burning through the field, and somehow holding a 10-plus. The one thing I will state is if there was another lap or two, I don't think he would have won that race. Hamilton was on an absolute mastermind
race. If you didn't watch
end.
The gap at the end, the interval from Hamilton through the last 2 laps, it dropped from 10 seconds to like 2 to 3 seconds at the end of the race, dude.
In like 40
If he had 2 more laps, he would have overtaken Max for sure.
Yes, and the rare Mercedes compliment from Gibby.
I mean, that's kind of why I'm saying I think Hamilton kind of deserves driver of the day, knowing that it's also a shittier car than what Verstappen's is driving.
Here's the thing: that's not where I'm going.
I know it's not. That's where I'm going.
Max's win is more impressive because he was defending against Lewis Hamilton and George Russell behind.
But he didn't.
But that's not really a compliment. I mean, look at the pace of the Red Bull this entire season compared to the Mercedes.
It is.
I mean, kind of.
I'm saying it's more impressive for Max to defend against probably the greatest F1 driver of all time. There, are you happy? That's a compliment.
Yes.
That's like a diehard.
It's a backhanded compliment, is what it is. Listen, okay.
He's got the most poles.
It is.
He's got the most race.
Super Max, dude.
I look at it as like
Devin. This is what happens. People get passionate. And they start
anyway, sorry. We can move on. Hey, can we try these? Can we try these energy drinks? I want to try them.
Yeah, I'm more than happy.
Well, I didn't get the Zoa because I couldn't.
We'll move on to another segment of the show. I'm just gonna try some stuff out.
Thank you guys for the insights.
We're going to try out a product review. So we tried to all get the same drink, but apparently some of us, per the race this morning and other obligations, couldn't track down certain drinks. I know 2 of us did. I've got Zoa, which is an energy drink from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I've got 3 different flavors. I'm going to be trying white peach today, actually. And it's supposed to be a healthier alternative to energy, clean energy. It's supposed to make you feel a little bit better. I know, Alex, you couldn't find it today. Do you want to give us a little shout out of what?
I found this stuff called goat fuel, and it's got a little goat on it, which is cool. What caught my eyes is it's got shrooms in it, and so I was like, all right, whatever kind of mushrooms is in here.
So it's just like a mushroom.
It says it's got 0 sugar, electrolytes, essential vitamins, and cordyceps. With a little mushroom logo on it for cordyceps.
I don't know what cordyceps
there you
is.
Go, cordyceps.
I have a drink that I tried. It's an alternative to coffee because for whatever reason, coffee really messes with me. I get super jittery. I can't focus. So I tried a mushroom powder alternative, and it was pretty good. I wasn't mad about it. It's not coffee by any means. So anybody listening, it's not an actual coffee alternative, but it did help out in the mornings.
Yeah.
Is that mud water stuff? Sorry.
Mud water.
Yeah. I've definitely had like the mud water stuff into coffee before as well.
I'm also doing Zoa, FYI for everybody, but I'm doing the wild orange because that's all I can.
Yeah. Oh, and this is tropical berry. I also love the color. It's like Mountain Dew.
Yeah. All right.
This is the
That's
goat.
the goat. That's the goat milk.
The goat fuel. Yeah.
Goat fuel.
Goat fuel.
My bad.
The goat milk here. Cheers.
Goat milk Mountain Dew. What a drink. Yeah, I'm really curious to hear about that one.
Enjoy.
I already took a sip, so Gibby, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what you think of Zoa.
What flavors did each of you guys go with?
Mine is wild orange.
I'm tropical berry.
Wild orange. Okay.
White peach. Got to go with the peach.
Oof.
I think that I would like to try the white peach. This reminds me of what is it? I think it's like Emergency.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the vitamin C drink that you put in water. It gives me that vibe. It's not bad. I enjoy it, but I want to try the white peach.
It's got it's all about health stuff, so that kind of goes right along with,
Yeah.
the healthy nature of it.
I don't
It's
hate
caffeine
it.
from green tea, unroasted coffee beans. So it's supposed to be similar energy levels, but a cleaner version of that.
Yeah.
Because I know, okay, so you're huge into Red Bull. Probably drink way more than you should.
Oh, yeah.
Comparison to Red Bull when it comes to like flavor profile, overall like strength of carbonation. What are your thoughts about the drink itself?
So I have actually switched from the sugar Red Bull to the sugar-free Red Bull. I'm trying to lose a little bit more weight. I think that this just needs a little bit more fizz. Is really all that it's missing. The flavor's there. I don't mind. I like Emergency. Like, if I'm feeling like something's coming on, I'll just start drinking that. I don't mind the flavor of it. It's not bad. It just isn't. It wasn't as carbonated as I was expecting. And Red Bull, like, in the most jacked up way possible, I like the way it burns when it goes down.
Oh my God, dude.
You know what I mean? Like, I like to feel that. It gives me that little extra kick, you know? You feel it going down. This is almost like drinking water.
Interesting. That's the exact opposite of what I'm looking for in a drink. I don't like carbonation, so the less fizzy it is, I feel like I can taste it a little bit better. But I do understand what you mean, right? Like, if I drink a Red Bull,
You're used to the fizzy.
it like punches you in the back of the throat, and it's like a wake up call, like straight out of the gate.
Yep.
Have you ever gone like a little while without having a carbonated drink? And then that first one you get, it's just like, bam, dude.
It's too much sometimes.
You know, isn't that kick? Yeah.
I get that with Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew, like, that's just, it's too much. I don't know what it is about Mountain Dew, but it hurts. It physically hurts me when I drink any Mountain Dew.
I get that when I drink Dr. Pepper, which I also know that Gibby, you have a very close relationship with. Dr. Pepper and Sprite, for whatever reason, Sprite hits so hard unexpectedly. Like, you look at it and it's so underwhelming, and then you drink it, and for whatever
that carbonation
reason,
is gnarly.
it is so strong with carbonation. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Those videos that came out with that Sprite challenge a few months ago.
Hilarious.
Absolutely.
Have you guys seen the
hysterical.
McDonald's?
Well, what was that?
It was all over Instagram.
They
There
tried
was
to
this
drink like a
challenge,
liter of Sprite in like a minute.
and you weren't allowed to burp.
Didn't go well. A lot of people
man.
did not keep it down.
A lot of puke.
That sounds horrible.
I've got to know about the goat milk, the goat fuel. What's initial thoughts, flavor?
Yeah.
What you got for me?
This might be my favorite tasting and most refreshing energy drink I've ever had.
Wow.
It is like
Wow.
not super sweet.
Yeah.
But it's like berry flavored with like a hint of coconut. It's not too carbonated, but it's got some carbonation.
Is it more like juice?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of a. It's kind of like
What's
a
a caffeine
carbonated,
content?
slightly carbonated, like flavored water profile, but like a little sweeter than like a vitamin water or something like that. But not as sweet as like an energy drink. But super freaking refreshing.
Do you taste any mushroom
None.
at all? Like no mushroom flavor?
No a texture, anything like that. I know some of those. We're talking about like the mud waters and those sorts
Creamy.
of things.
Yeah.
Like
This is like
to some extent.
clear.
There's
It's
like a little bit of like
clear beverage. Yeah,
Huh.
but friggin' delicious, and it's only like 10 calories in this thing.
Goat fuel. All right, I'm gonna check it out.
What's the caffeine content?
Oh, that's a good shout. Let's see.
All the
I
different
don't even know
drinks,
what
y'all.
120 milligrams of natural caffeine. Thanks, The Rock. Thanks, Dwayne
Okay.
Johnson. Thanks for the natural caffeine. 0 sugar. No juice.
I saw there was a pre-workout one though too. Of those.
I think there's an energy.
No, of
Zoa.
the Zoas. Yeah, it's like a.
I don't see any
It's
caffeine.
like a
in this
pre-workout.
listed.
version.
Zoa Plus is what it's called. I haven't tried that yet, but they do have different flavors like pineapple, passion fruit, which are very high up on my list of things that I enjoy.
Bro, you said pineapple?
Passion fruit. I like, dude, anything passion fruit. Okay, so passion fruit, peach. Oh, I forgot that you had another drink. Bust this one out. What do you have? What is that one?
Yeah, so I actually was drinking this while we were talking F1. So this is the Rockstar Unplugged, and it's made with hemp seed, which I thought was super interesting. But it's passion fruit flavored, and honestly, I don't like Rockstar. Like, it's kind of bitter to me. Like, it's just not very good. But this was delightful. It's not anywhere near Red Bull. Like, I don't think I would seek this out in the future, but I did enjoy drinking it.
There's something about the name Rockstar that I don't know if it was me drinking them in high school. Monster and Rockstar just feel like that energy drink that is just going to ruin my day if I even pull it off the shelf.
So that's kind of how I feel about it too. But there's like nothing too bad. The only thing that's really crazy about this one is that it's got 55 milligrams of sodium, but it's 0 sugar.
That's a lot of salt though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really, it's got a like high sodium content and high niacin content. So would be good before the gym, but
The goat
bad.
fuel has 45 milligrams of sodium, and I found is 200 milligrams caffeine, natural caffeine.
Oh, that's a lot of caffeine.
Hello.
Wow.
That's a good thing to kill a headache.
Goat fuel milk.
I don't see sodium on here.
Yeah,
Sodium. Oh, God. 140 milligrams of sodium.
on the Zoa?
The big can is 200.
I'm going to say the goat fuel wins today's because it's my favorite tasting beverage and also has the most caffeine with the least amount of sodium of all the ones we've drank. I'm going to say this wins today.
Mr. The Rock,
Liar.
what are you doing?
Yeah, take the sodium out. 0 sugar.
Yeah.
But how would you take some salt out too there, bud?
Seriously, that's like immediately
You
unhealthy.
need some electrolytes in your diet, you know? You think, if you don't have enough salt in your food or whatever, you're eating really clean, you got to get it somewhere.
Like if you're
right?
getting
need
yourself
That's what the
200
Rock's
energy
doing.
drink, you probably got other things that you need to worry about. If that's your only salt intake.
I
guess it's not that bad.
I don't do energy drinks. I noticed, so I'll have to go off of your
I
guys'
know you're a
opinions.
pretty clean
I get
eater.
the-
You don't really go out to eat either. So like fast food restaurants are kind of awful because we took a road trip and there were only 2 restaurants that were on the list that we were allowed to go to: Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out Burger. What is your reasoning? What's your rationale?
Those are the only
behind it?
2 I do. Oh man, I just it's odd. Got a little bit of anxiety disorder. So it kind of all stems from that. But I know what I'm getting from Chick-fil-A and what I'm getting from In-N-Out. Like, they're clean restaurants. The food's good. It's always consistent. And so it's
like
it's what I go with.
almost
I
like the
it.
healthier, cleaner version. You just want to know where your food is coming from. So Chipotle, where's Chipotle on the list?
Exactly. So I just had yesterday for the first time in 5 years Chipotle. So it's funny that you bring that up because I have been got a little visitor. I have been craving Chipotle. We had one right by my high school, so I used to go there every day. Every day after high school, my senior year when we got I got early release. So, but I went for the first time and it was phenomenal. I was like so pleased. And it was that I was just missing that taste. So I think that might be added to the, might be in the rotation.
So I gotta be
that'll
honest.
be I think
Chipotle
that'll be the
always
third.
sounds so good, and then I eat it and it destroys my stomach, and I'm like, why? Why did I do that? Why did I get the burrito? Why did I get the bowl? I even tried to do like the healthy, like just the veggies and the beans and the guac and some of the salsa. And then, like 2 hours later,
you are gripping the porcelain,
regretting every decision I made that day.
Mm-hmm.
But man, does it sound good every time before I get there?
Literally every time, and it always hurts. It's like always painful.
Incredible.
But then here's
Never
the thing, though.
Easy.
I'll eat like the entire Taco Bell or Del Taco menu, and I will feel totally fine. So
no,
I can't explain
it to me too.
Well, I know. There's always there was still the typical after Chipotle kind of aftermath that comes of it, but man, after not having it, and I kid you not, it's been over 5 years.
That's
since
crazy, man. That's wild.
So, yeah, but
it
was good.
Well,
it was good. But I know what you're saying.
I know we also wanted to briefly, because I'm curious. This came up in our random conversations throughout the week. We want to do a segment called Did You Know? And Alex has a story for us.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite movies from a long time ago. It's a car that I've been very interested in. And I just some things that I wish were a little bit different, especially, first of all, I love electric cars. But the new electric Mini Cooper would be so amazing if they could just find a way to get more power and more range out of the car. It looks incredible.
Hard.
Okay, so here's the thing, and this is awesome. This is going to tackle two different topics that I wanted to touch on, which is I'm also looking for a secondary electric car that I need to buy, and the Mini Electric is slowly creeping its way up the standings for like next up, only because you can pick them up like a 2021 for $29,000, dude. Which cheap as hell, and it's got fast charging, and it gets 120 miles of range. So, like, it could get me from San Diego to Huntington easily, and then I could zip zap and then come home. And besides that, it's home charging and no big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do all electric cars use the same charging? Like, could one of the, what's it called, the superchargers or fast chargers that Tesla has? Will those? Can you just plug in? Plug that in your Mini Cooper and get the same
Tesla
results,
is the only electric car maker that uses a plug that's different than every other electric car. So anything that isn't a Tesla has. Yeah, kind of like the Apple Lightning, right? So, like, all other electric cars use a USB-C type, whatever type plug, but they're using the Lightning version for EVs. But Tesla just recently accepted government funding and announced with the White House that they're going to convert those superchargers over to the standard called CCS that all other electric cars use. So you will be able to use a supercharger with any electric car.
Which is sweet.
I'm
Those things are awesome.
super excited about
that. But there is already like multiple quick charging networks in the States.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think there's more Electrify America stations
than superchargers
in the United States than
I think so too. And
they're great. They have like 350 kW.
Yeah, they're awesome. I love them. I use them all the time. Yeah, they're solid. So anyway, recent article I came across the other day was about this movie, The Italian Job. Came out in 2003. I love the movie. We all know it, right? Everybody's seen it, I take it, right?
If that movie comes on, that's one of the movies that if it's on,
just throw it on the background.
Such a good movie, right? Well, the scene where they're driving the Mini Coopers through the subway tunnels in LA, the scene I'm talking about? I just came out recently from a producer that worked in that movie that those Mini Coopers were electric. Yes. No. Get this. Get this.
What?
The city of Los
No
Angeles
way.
would not allow them to drive Mini Coopers through the subway tunnels due to the emissions and fumes. So the producers had it commissioned 3 custom electric Mini Coopers, which, by the way, was 6 years before Mini Cooper even started the Mini Electric beta program, before BMW launched their very first electric car for sale, which was the i3. So we're talking like a decade plus prior to BMW Mini's first electric car hitting the road. How sick is that?
Bring it back. I would love to drive that exact vehicle, the John Wilkes Cooper body style, old school, fully electric. Get like 200 miles of range.
So that's what I'm saying is the current Mini Cooper, the only thing you don't get is the 200 miles of range. It is exactly the same. And that's why it doesn't get the range that we want, is because it uses the exact same chassis, exact same frame. It is... Yeah, it's also small, right? And when you're small, you don't have a lot of space for that battery pack, right? And so that's why you only get 120 miles of range. But also, it's a freaking Mini. Like, it's a real Mini. It's not like a big Mini. It's not a Clubman or a Countryman or whatever. It's a Mini, which would be really cool.
So here's the thing, though. Okay, because I'm curious. Because you said it was, like, going up the list. So obviously you've got things above that. Just going to list out some random cars that I know are kind of hot off the press right now when it comes to electric vehicles. You've got the Hyundai Ioniq. You've got the Kia EV6. You've got the Chevy Bolt. So, like, where do some of those cars stack up? Obviously, you can always go Tesla Model 3, but I have a feeling we want to stay away from that one. You've got these cars in, like, that $35,000 to $40,000 price range that get more range. I feel like you get a little bit more out of the interior of the car. Like, what are the things that you're looking for, and why are you making?
Yeah, so the Mini, I don't think is maybe the bottom of the top 5 list. Probably, I think it's like number 5 right now. Chevy Bolt is up there for sure. Mostly from a value perspective, because you can get those for 25, 30 grand with 240 miles of range. I think they look stupid, but it's a hatchback, which I love, and it's cheap.
What are the parameters?
So I'm trying to stay 40K or below. Ideally, I would ideally like 200 miles of range. It has to have fast charging, has to have a decent audio system for sure, and CarPlay would be ideal. Those are kind of my shopping list.
So if you've never driven in the car with Alex, he likes to listen to music unbelievably loud, like too loud probably for our age, but that's okay. Likes to drive ridiculously fast, safely.
Most of the time.
But I can understand why those are like must-haves in your car. So is this going to be a second vehicle, or is it just like?
So I'm going to keep the Rivian, and then this will be like a more daily driver vehicle that's smaller, that I don't care about piling miles on type of situation.
So I have to ask, because I'm curious, because I know 3 out of 4 of us have at least driven electric cars. Devin, have you gotten a chance to drive an electric vehicle or been in one before?
What electric car were you in?
Okay.
Have not driven.
Nice. They go fast and zoom and floor it and everything.
Pretty good one to drive.
Yeah, I didn't drive it. I was a passenger, but yeah, it got, it felt a little bit different riding in something like that. I think, right. I would imagine it's got like a lower, more central center of gravity. So it just it was interesting driving it, not having driven it and feeling it for myself. You can only get so much of a perspective, I'd say. But being a passenger in it was.
You currently drive a truck, and I also love trucks. Do you ever find yourself finding a situation where you would revert back to a car or a minivan, or is it just does your life require a truck moving forward?
I
think having one, yes, is important for me, my lifestyle. But as far as like a daily driver, definitely looking to get something a little more eco-friendly and efficient. Ultimately, my big thing, and again, novice in this industry. I know all you guys are much more involved in the industry. From one way or another, but my big thing ultimately was like I can stop and get gas, like, you know, within a 5-mile radius. There's going to be a couple gas stations generally. So like with electric charging, you've got to be like, luckily my work has it, and I'm sure I could get one for the house and all that. But you know, until the network of charging stations and all that becomes, you know, similar to gas stations where you could just stop and do it. So that's been my biggest drawback to the electric.
So I'm sorry that
as
we're
opposed
in
to something like a hybrid
group together here, because like your mind is just going to be shifted so fast, my bro. Let me tell you. So yeah. So the way to think about electric cars, how much range does your truck have? If you like get in your truck right now, like walk outside and start it, how much range do you have in that truck right now?
I could go.
Okay, is your tank full right now?
400 miles, 425 miles.
Wait, is it 75% or full?
Yeah, 75. I just filled it up.
Just under full. Okay, so
just under full.
Okay, so you just filled up, right?
From Costco to home.
So with my car, I know that I have 270 miles of range right now when I walk outside, because I haven't driven yet today, and it's fully charged. And I will also have that range tomorrow morning and the morning after and the morning after and the morning. Every single morning, I will have that range in the morning without having to ever stop anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's maybe 100 miles less than your range. How often do you have to fill up every day? Do you fill up like once a week?
Like more...
Cool. So once a week,
like
you're
once a week,
400 miles a week
type of
divided
thing.
out. You're probably driving like 70 miles a day-ish, 80 miles a day, give or take. You would never stop ever. So you would literally save yourself stopping anywhere forever for a day or daily driving tasks. So really the only issue is like your road trips, your long distance driving, and the network actually.
Yeah. Which I would use the truck for probably anyways.
Justin, did you pull up the map yet?
With the family and everything.
I haven't, but no, I was going to play devil's advocate for a bit, because so here's the thing. Just straight out of the gate, I love electric vehicles, super into sustainable energies, totally understand like the infrastructure. However, there are some people where it really actually doesn't work, right? Like, let's say you live in an apartment complex and you don't have electric charging where you could just plug in every single night. Or maybe your home setup doesn't have the available electricity to upgrade and have the right type of power for you to plug in. And maybe you can only plug into a 110 and you have a bit of a commute every single day. To the point that he brought up earlier, right? Like, we know that there's infrastructure out there, but it does require some planning. It does require you to actually go to certain places. You can't just be on the road,
just figure it out,
and just in the middle of the night and be like, I'm driving to Vegas, and where I stop, who cares? There's going to be a gas station at some point within a mile and a half here. You don't have to plan for that. You just look at the side of the road. You look at the gas station that's coming up in a mile. You get off the street and you go stop wherever you want. You can't really just do that in an electric vehicle. It does require some like thought and planning. The car does it for you a lot of the times, but it's not as simple as just getting off the freeway at that random gas station that's out in the middle of who knows where, Wyoming, and going to grab some beef jerky and plug in and filling up some gas. So it realistically, like, as much as I would love everybody to drive an electric car, it's really not feasible for every single person currently until every house is able to get the right charging infrastructure. Every road that you drive on in the country has charging available to it, because let's be honest, right? If we just flip the switch and everybody got rid of their gas cars and everybody now drives an electric car, if you want to go take a road trip, you're going to be sitting in a line waiting for someone to plug their car in for 20 minutes, and you've got 15, 20 people ahead of you, because now nobody's in gas, everybody's on electric. So I can play devil's advocate from both sides, but I'm curious. Your guys' thoughts. Should everybody drive an electric vehicle?
Real quick, I actually have a new another Did You Know segment based on an argument you just had. You made a really good point that not everyone can install the charging infrastructure they need at home, because a lot of people don't have like the clearance on their electrical panel to handle that. Siemens just came out with a product this week that plugs directly into the meter itself of the panel and is a smart control meter that provides a 240 volt outlet for electric vehicle charging, even if you don't have the clearance necessary, based on monitoring your actual electricity usage overnight. So when your usage dips below your panel's limits, it diverts most of your home's power to charging your car, and then limits it back when you start using the power in the home in the morning again. Pretty sick.
I also,
it's very interesting.
I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of vehicle you're driving, right? Like, if you're in a Rivian R1T, 110 is really not a viable solution long term for you to be charging. It's just too slow for you to have like your daily charging truly filled every day. You get a 240 volt installed, or you have the wall charger that you can buy from Rivian. Totally feasible. Same thing with Tesla. Same thing, honestly, with most electric vehicle manufacturers. 110 is just a very slow charge. I actually refer to it in most cases as life support. Just keeps the vehicle on. But it just depends on the person, truthfully. Like, the only time in my personal experience where it's really not made sense for somebody is when they're trying to use it for, like, towing constantly. Like, they're going to use it as a work truck and, like, hot shot it. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to be hot-shotting nonstop. And I'm like, where do your runs like? And they're like, oh, we're going Phoenix to LA, or we're going Phoenix to Colorado. I'm like, you're going to be stopping a lot. You do have a big range hit when you're towing, especially if it's more than, like, if you're at that 11,000 pound capacity, you're 50%. Yeah, right there, you're just cutting it in half. But I also know that there's other companies like Nikola that are making electric trucks that can do that, and they do work for long hauls. So it's just a matter of perspective. I think that most people in the electric vehicle industry are like me in a sense of, like, we don't really care what vehicle you get as long as there's some sustainability behind it. We just are trying to make the transition happen as quickly as possible, but it's not going to happen.
But as it fits your use case, then it makes it eventually the things will line up, right? And so for you, if you love a truck body style and you do the occasional road trip here and there to Southern California or whatever, then you could drive an F-150 Lightning and you would have zero problems ever. And if you don't tow a lot, right? That would be an amazing option for you that would cut gas right out of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Again, another thing that I'll bring up, you could, in theory, some people like to just fix their own vehicles. That is not necessarily as simple and easy.
Yeah, but you don't have to fix anything.
One, you have to.
You're not going to do an oil change. You're not going to. What are you going to do? Change your brake pads? Maybe once every 10 years.
If something breaks, it happens, right? It's a car. You're out on the road. Sure. It's got wear and tear. It's got things that can break down. Let's say you want to drive it 150,000 miles, and you want to fix a lot of the things on the cars. You just might not have the knowledge and ability to do that, and you might need the manufacturer service to actually get some stuff completed. Or, like, you got to buy a certain part.
But you're also doing
OEM, and you can't just go down to Joe Schmo's garage shop and buy parts at your normal car shop, right? Like,
but you also have to deal with any of those issues maybe 20% of the time.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
If you're unlucky, then you might deal with 20% of the issues. If you're a normal owner, you probably deal with 10% of the issues.
Yeah. Not to mention, most electric vehicle manufacturers have incredible warranties on their products. Like, if you want to drive
the stuff that would go wrong
miles, in my experience, is covered for that length of time in most cases. I can't speak for, like, the Ford, because there's probably a little bit different.
I just did a whole benchmark study on them, actually.
A major manufacturer.
Theirs is good, too. Yeah. Same thing. Because I actually think it's a legal requirement that you maintain an 8-year battery warranty on the battery itself, because it's such a large percentage of the cost of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Rivian's is as well. It's an 8-year. And it's like they're expecting these vehicles to last this long, and they're going to cover it, and you're going to be protected for a lot longer than you would in, like, your Toyotas or your
Fords. You get a 4-year 50
electric. You've got the 5-year. Yeah, if you're like, that's a good warranty.
4-year 50 is pretty standard.
Basic vehicle.
All right, I know we're coming up on the hour mark, so I want to close this out, but I got one more thing for us, kind of off the cuff, because I'm curious, and a little bit of a unique situation on the topic of cars. Since we've been talking about cars all day, we're going to go round robin, just on my screen. So Devin, you're going to go first, Alex second, Gibby third, and then I'll go last. Would love to hear you guys choose one. You only get one selection. If you could only have one car for the rest of your life, and it had to be your daily driver, it had to be you taking your friends and having your kids in the car and your dog situation and your road trip and out and camping, like it's the only car that you can have for the rest of your life. We can't, if somebody takes your car, you can't choose it. You've got to choose something else. We only get one selection. Devin, you get the first choice. What's your go-to vehicle rest of your life?
Man, I feel on the spot right now. Is it so? Just a couple clarifiers. Is it something that has to be like out right now? Can it be something custom, or is it just
whatever
like
you want it to be? If it's a car that's on the road
anything
that you can drive, that's all the only parameters I'm setting.
Okay. I think I'll say I have a family, growing family. I need space. I need certain things like that. The first thing that comes to mind that I can think of is the new Toyota Sequoia that's going to be coming out. I think those look super cool. They're roomy. They can get they can get you from A to B, and we do a lot of camping and getting off road and all that kind of stuff. So I think that right now would be like kind of tick all the boxes. So I think that's what I'd go with.
All right. Toyota Sequoia off the list. Alex,
Taycan Cross Turismo 4S.
Only one you can have.
Taycan Cross Turismo 4S.
What?
That's it. That's the one.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with Porsche as a brand. I love how their vehicles drive. I love how their vehicles look. I love the heritage behind their cars, everything about them. I'm obsessed with electric cars. I don't think I could daily drive anything that wasn't an electric vehicle. I need something that has decent capacity if I am going to have it be my only vehicle ever. So the Cross Turismo is a hatchbacky, has a little bit more space than the rest of them. I also would need a vehicle that could do some light camping, I would call it, and the Cross Turismo can do that, and you could even mount a rooftop tent on the top of it. Has good storage, it's fast, seats five people fine. Those are all my reasons. Bang & Olufsen sound system, Olufsen, whatever.
All right. Going all out. Sounds good. You bringing the kids and the dogs and the Taycan?
No kids, dog, yes.
Got it. Sounds good. All right. Well, we've got Toyota Sequoia and a Taycan off the list. Did you have a feeling you weren't going to choose either of those? What's your selection?
So I love my Rivians. I love them a lot, but I actually currently would go with the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer. It's an incredible vehicle. I had the pleasure of sitting in one at the LA Auto Show last year, and my God,
interior sweet,
do it right, car. Dude. They just
I saw one in Monterey. It
is
gorgeous.
Incredible. I was blown away. The quality of those vehicles it's insane for the cost. Aside from that, I mean, it's comfortable. Got to drive in one. I rode shotgun. They're great little trucks.
Yeah.
I mean SUVs. Sorry, but either way, they look great. Very stylish. Super comfortable. Tons of room. Tons of storage capacity. Would work great for camping. I mean, it's a Jeep. I love being outdoors. The only thing that I would be a little concerned about is, when I go hunting, getting stuff all over the back end of it, but we'll figure it out.
It comes with being out in the wilderness and enjoying life, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually,
can I change my answer? I just thought I just
give it up there.
Oh, I'm locked in. I'm locked in.
You locked it in. If Gibby didn't choose already, I maybe would have let
Can we get some?
We'll do. What's yours, Boo?
Can we get some honorable mentions at the end? Just throwing a couple honorable mentions. Okay.
So here's the situation. super practical. And conceptually, I wish that there was an electric vehicle version of this car because I would buy it on the spot. But if there was a Toyota 4Runner TRD and it had the capability of being fully electric with 250 miles of range, decent power, and didn't have any problems getting out into the wilderness. And I know that Rivian's got an R1S coming out. There's not really any other okay, yeah, for sure. Right? It's like it's out, but I haven't actually driven it, so I can't talk about it, right? Like if I'm in it and I get a chance.
You've been in my truck, it's the same thing, dude.
But
identical. It's identical.
It's not the same thing.
It is the exact. It's identical.
Until you've been in it and I've driven it, I can't say that. So I've
been in both and driven both. They're the same.
Fair. Well, even still, as of today, I would actually buy the Toyota over that because I know the longevity of the company. I understand the service model. I understand the product that I'm buying is going to last me 300,000 miles because it's happened already millions of times. So I would go with a Toyota RAV4, or not a RAV4, a 4Runner TRD. And if they had an electric version of it, great. I will change my answer when and if I ever get to drive an R1S.
Do you not like the BZ? Do you not like the Toyota BZ electric?
That's fair.
Check. Hey.
Okay, I'm just curious.
No. Our best.
So the Sequoia I'm talking about, the I think it's the 2023 model. They took a lot of design inspiration, I think, from the 4Runner. So
it's a lot bigger.
A little bit bigger. Looks very close to the 4Runner. And that's, yeah. So it's not quite the Land Cruiser, but it's pretty darn close. And that's because I love the
2023 does look angry.
So I think they did a good job with it.
It's pretty cool.
Also, Boo Boo, thoughts on the Blazer EV? The Blazer EV.
On what?
Dude.
I don't know much about it. But also it's a Chevy. I would buy a Toyota.
The interior looks...
I drive a Chevy right now. So
gets 320-mile range. Interior looks sweet. SS model does 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. It's pretty baller. I'm a big fan of that. That's on my list. The Silverado looks sweet, too, if you're looking for a truck.
Too?
Are these,
I think these are honorable mentions.
Or are these just mentions?
These are honorable mentions.
Ooh, I don't like that Blazer.
I like it.
Front. I don't know why. So it kind of looks
a
like
little bit,
Mach-E,
but it doesn't.
like
I call it Mustang
to me a bit, and it just looks.
Well, the car that I was thinking of maybe changing my answer to, shockingly enough, I hate that I'm going to say this brand, but the Tesla Plaid. I rode in it the other day, and that blew my mind. Yeah. No, I want a Tesla Plaid with a regular steering wheel, not yoke. To be clear.
Okay, good.
It's garbage. It's garbage. It's not a real yoke. It doesn't have a progressive steering ratio. Stupid. Yeah, it's a car.
Looks like you're like driving
it's not a race car.
Plane or something,
It's not. Nope. Nope. It is a family sedan hatchback, my guy. It is not a race. It is the furthest thing from a race car.
It is not a race car.
Listen, you also have argued to me that you can go racing in a fucking SUV in like the Lamborghini Urus or whatever the hell they call it.
You can. You 100% can.
Speaking of race cars and honorable mentions, I want to throw mine out there.
Yes.
Audi
so
RS6
beautiful.
Those things are gorgeous, dude. And if it the one thing is I can't I'm not taking that thing off road. so that's where that's why
they're insane.
But man, that car is.
I will say one other thing. Like I love the Grand Wagoneer. It's amazing, but if I was to choose like a vehicle that I'd probably actually be able to afford, I'd probably go with like a Chevy Silverado LT. Nothing too crazy, just something that can get me 4x4. Can get a little bit dirty, kick some mud up on the tires. It's real simple to work on. I could do things myself if I needed to.
I got to ask you, but why do you want this? Because I feel like they're, for the most part, the same truck. Why would you choose a Silverado over an F-150 or a Ram 1500? Like, what's your decision point there?
Fantastic question. One, you'll never catch me in a Ram.
I think there's a Ram behind you. Is there not on the thing on the flag? Oh,
the Bronco, but we're not going to get
Close
into
enough.
that.
Bronco,
Oh, that's a dangerous topic.
Ram Bronco.
Not. One is a sheep, the
4
other
legs.
is a
It's all
horse.
good.
Showing
I'm
your sports
offended,
knowledge
Gibby.
right now.
I'm gonna let me tell you. I've got a Ram 1500
Nice.
crew cab 4x4. I was going between Chevy, Ram, F-150s. Dodge, Ford, Chevy. Affordable, drives great, fits the needs. But I never understood. I never had a huge preference other than like I was looking at what was the most affordable and what worked best for me, and that was that's what I went with. And it's been a great vehicle.
So it's totally based on personal preference. I feel like between those 3 different makes and models. But in my experience, Dodge tends to have more issues than not. No problem with the F-150. They're great trucks. Same with like the Ranger. Don't hate them at all. They're fantastic. I would totally have one, totally buy one. But the Silverado, truth be told, they're easier to work on because family members of mine also drive Chevys, so they know how to work on them. So in the event that I couldn't figure something out, real easy for me to go to somebody and just ask. So it's more of like a convenience thing, to be completely honest with you. The only one that I'm truly biased against is Ram. It ain't happening, dude. It's just not happening, bro. It ain't me.
I get it, though. I totally get it.
It ain't me.
But that's such a bad reason.
To each their own. I'll be driving. You'll be on the side of the road with your family and friends helping you work on it.
Sure.
And I'll be cruising by waving at you.
Sure,
So
dude.
It is what it
when
is.
your truck's in the shop 6 times a year in the next 2.
Also, interesting fact that you probably need to fact check me on.
Interesting fact.
How factual this fact is. But I just saw a study that the number one most stolen vehicle in the U.S. is a Chevy Silverado.
It's because they are...
Which I thought it would be I think Hondas as a whole are but I think the Chevy Silverado. It could have just been Arizona.
I'm sure you want to go with that.
I think it's a Camry or a Civic, isn't it?
Could be
Number
could be
one
Arizona.
is the Ford pickup. All it says is Ford pickup. Number 2 is the Chevy pickup. Number 3 is a Honda Civic, and number 4 is an Accord.
Okay, so
you're only 4,000.
Hey, pretty close. Pretty close. I mean,
it's not bad.
That's a lot.
All right. Well, I think that puts us at the hour 10 mark. I feel like that's a pretty good place to stop. But we got Devin driving the Toyota Sequoia, Alex driving the Taycan, Gibby driving the Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I'm rocking the 4Runner TRD. We had some honorable mentions: Tesla Plaid, Audi RS6, Chevy Silverado. Any closing statements? Any last things that you guys learned throughout the session today?
Yes. Number 1 in Arizona.
He fact-checked the fact-check.
So national average Ford truck in Arizona. In Arizona,
that's awesome.
It's a Chevy pickup is number 1. So I knew I was getting it from somewhere. But I just want to thank you guys. And had my daughters here. We had some, so.
No
jumping
problem,
in and
man.
out.
We're in a
so
work from home world
for that,
man.
But
we've got
kids
in the background. We've
I'm
got
excited.
in the background. We're just here having a good time. So, again, the gentleman's agreement. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us, having some shenanigans, conversations. Go Max Verstappen, and we will see you
later,
next
boys.
Sunday.